My guest today should be very familiar to you. His name is Anthony Jenkin from Outlier Studio, and I've got him back for part 2 of the conversation that we had in his original episode only a couple of episodes ago. The reason I've got him back is because he is an absolute legendary podcaster. He knows exactly what the drill is, and he delivers value in nearly everything he says. In this episode, we talk about some of his other business endeavors that he's expanding into off the back of Outlier Studio and the opportunities he's identified there. We also talk about marketing and some tools that he's using to find and methods he's using to find his ideal clients and bring them in. And we also talk about efficiency and how he's structuring his workload and his workflow so that he doesn't have as high a reliance on human resource. This episode is just as great as the last one. And if you've listened to the other one, then strap in. You're going to have a great time on this as well. Let's take it away. Anthony, we are back in the studio for part 2. Mate, this is the first time I've ever done a part 2 on a podcast.
Yeah, again, pretty excited to be here, Caleb, for the second part. I'm not sure what that means, though.
It means that there was so much I wanted to talk to you about in the first one that I thought there's no way we can stop here without doing another one. So you should take it as a compliment.
I will, thank you.
Yeah, good.
As long as there's others considering this the ramblings of,
No, you are Mr. Value Packed, Anthony. We left the part 1 on a bit of efficiencies and promise that we would talk more about it. I'm really excited to hear about how you are keeping your team fairly lean, but then expanding the capability of yourself as the operator and business owner. Tell me, like, what are the most important things when it comes to gaining efficiencies in business and operation?
Yeah, so one of the downsides of not having a team means you don't just delegate all of those tasks to everyone. So yes. You're much more structured, and the biggest aspect of this is your self-awareness of time and the importance to you.
Yeah.
So structuring that down.
Yeah.
I can get overwhelmed sometimes if, I get in and the inbox has got 200 emails in it unread, or could be, insert X, Y, Z.
Oh, yeah.
So bite-sized chunks is how I approach it. Yep. So breaking it down at the macro level, like an example of that could be just every time that you're structuring or setting up a project and correspondence within whatever email client you use, you could be setting rules. And as we're seeing the introduction of AI into that, it's becoming a lot easier to do. So you can imagine that 200 is no longer in that inbox and it's distributed through various folders. It makes it much easier to be able to just mentally go in and go, right, we're going to achieve all of these things and break it down. That could be also folder management. I know it's something simple. I'd imagine most people are using some sort of cloud storage now. How many clicks does it take you to get through to XYZ folder? The list is endless, but all of these things collectively are how you achieve it and become more efficient.
Yeah.
There's a vast array of other examples, such as using digitized proposals. If you're still creating those in a Word document or doing it via PDF, there's a bit of to and fro.
All right, how long does it take you to create a proposal?
Less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes?
Yeah. Actually, let's add the Loom video in there as well.
Okay.
So let's say, 10 minutes. Yeah.
Mate, I'm so impressed. I thought I was winning. Last night, I pumped out a proposal in 10 minutes, which is one of the quickest I've ever done, but you've halved it. 5 minutes. How is that possible?
It's basically using the CRM platforms. Like we spoke about this last time, but we personally use Go High Level. So yes, there is a time investment up front to establish templates, get it all working. But if your clients can just sign it digitally and then it automatically generates the email that goes out to finalize that, sends the signed documentation and files it for you, that's a lot of time saved.
It's a lot of time. So what about the information required? Is there any custom information that's particular to the client that you put in that each proposal? Or
there is. It's usually just some minor alterations if necessary. Okay. We're probably fortunate in the sense that a lot of our templates are pretty consistent. There's not a great deal of alteration required.
Yep.
And we just establish a new template for something if we structure something differently. And then, again, there's that little bit of upfront administrative time spent, but from that on, the savings are, they're astronomical. So,
how did you get to that point where, I bet at the start people were coming to you and you were like custom solutions all over the place. How did you get to the point where you structured your set of and your process and your set of services and what they look like to the point where they can be templatized into a proposal like that?
Like everyone, there's a frustration, there's some sort of friction, and you want to find a solution for it. So you just iteration after iteration until you get it to a point where you're like, this is now where I wanted it to be. Yeah. So initially it was, different options, like trying to navigate all these different value propositions and different structures and layers. And, we went through that whole process of offering the I think it's the car analogy where you've kind of got the base model, the medium model, and the premium model, and the different subcategories of that. And it becomes messy, whereas now it's much more streamlined. We've had a lot of success, at least personally, with keeping it simple.
Yes, that is honestly the winning formula. I am a bit of a sales nut. I love it. And I didn't start that way, but now I just can't get enough of it. And we'll dive in probably some more sales stuff in a while, but while we're here, proposals, how many pages are your proposals on generally?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's probably a dozen pages in there.
A dozen? Yeah. That's pretty good.
There's a terms and conditions as well, which of course is, all the nice legal jargon that we like to think that we read as much as we should. Yeah. It's fairly structured. Most of that is just giving not just the deliverables, but, high-level explanation of the processes at each stage and what expectations can be for every one of those as well. So there's a little bit of filler in there, so to speak. Yeah.
And how much of it speaks about Outlier Studio and how much of it speaks about the customers?
That's a good thought. So the Outlier Studio aspect of it is probably around 20%.
Yeah.
And then the remaining aspect of that is probably 20% towards expectations on timelines, invoicing stages, when we can expect delays, what will be causing those. Then we've probably got about 10% towards the actual costings. And then the remaining is probably where all the deliverables and itemization occurs. So
love it. Yeah, good. I like that you put the expected potential delays in there because there's some, I bet you've experienced this where if you don't set the right expectation up front with the customer and there's going to be delays somewhere for some reason on nearly every project and could be a different reason for every project. But if they expect that there won't be any and then they run into some delays, you're left with this gap, right, of expectation where you're going to have an unhappy client.
And you're going to have a lot of pressure on you.
Uh-huh.
So we have just been through experience able to identify when they occur. Now, the biggest one in our industry, and still is town planning.
Yeah,
so for those listening who have ever submitted a town planning application, I'm sure you can relate.
Yep.
Now, that is due to a vast array of reasons, shortages in staff, the volume of, or increase in volume of applications during the last few years. It's just a perfect storm, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going through that exact process right now with mum and dad's house that's going to be built on the same block. And so just that alone, the complexity that it's taken 2 years to get this house built on the same block without subdividing, without doing anything, that's a whole nother story. But yes.
But I'm interested to know, were expectations set that this could take 2 years or?
No.
Yeah.
No,
so I can imagine the frustrations that you and your parents have experienced during that time.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, this is so important to put in that proposal initially to go, look, when we get to this stage, this is what could occur. Here's where the current industry standards are.
Yeah.
This is where this particular council standards are.
Yeah.
Prepare that it could get to this. Does that sound okay? Because if not, then maybe we should reconsider what we're about to, commit ourselves to.
Yeah. Yeah, because life changes are put in place based on an expected timeline, right? And that's not, that will be in anyone's circumstance where they expect it to take a certain amount of time. And I've heard of lots of scenarios where they're buying another place or they're doing something else because it's just taking way longer than they could afford or they could manage.
And this is something we might dive into a little bit more further into the conversation. But can you imagine someone who was committed themselves to renting a home for 12 months and now that's 2 years? Are they able to continue that lease? Are they not? Are they also paying a mortgage on another home? Are they having a family? Is there a new addition to the family? Like there's just so many things that can just be really complicated for people coming in. And that's one of the complications of our industry currently, which we'll shelve for now and we'll come back to. There's a lot of different things that we can look at when it comes to efficiencies. But as I mentioned, like time is the biggest thing for me.
Love it.
It becomes very valuable to, and I've heard that so many times from some of the entrepreneurial greats. Didn't really get it myself at the time. I was like, no, that's right, I'll just work harder. But now understanding that, it's like, as your family grow as well and your children go through school and there's school holidays as we're going through at the moment and all these balancing acts that we experience as business owners. So that's definitely it. There's other things as well in there at a macro level. Entrepreneurial operating system is one that I've recently discovered. It integrates, or there's a integration that exists with ClickUp, which is our project management software. So little things like that where it has a set agenda for meetings and a structure that you just follow, and it just makes things efficient. Meetings are one of those ones that you might think you've set 30 minutes and then an hour and 30 minutes later, and that time suck is
intense.
it is. And you might not think like much at the time, but if you're like me and you collect all of your record of hours for a 12-month period, which we've just done in our financial review, the numbers are staggering. You think, wow, I can't believe that we've just spent 4 weeks just having team meetings for the year.
When you put it like that, you really think differently about the hour here, the hour there, because over a year, like that's a long time to stack up and accumulate little bits of time that stack up to, total meeting time, 4 weeks. And from a person in a business that has really focused on the efficiency in that area, you imagine what the meeting count of hours would be for businesses that don't focus on the efficiency of them.
Well, that's what I used to be. And I'm thinking, why is my profit, not more than what it is? And then when you understand your numbers, you understand exactly where it's going. And you are able to make better decisions, more accurate, educated decisions for the business. We're going to circle back to AI as well, because I'll round it out with some of the macros now and I'll move on. But AI has actually got to that point where I now believe it is replacing the requirement for human resource. And that's a big part of how we're able to do what we do.
Wow.
So
tell me more.
Look, an example of this is we've just completed our end of financial year review for the business. What would normally have taken me days to, collate information from our accounting software, our project management software, our CRM, and look at all these things and how we're going. I'm able to just grab the raw data files and just dump it into AI and ask it to do it for me, and it will do that and more than what you would ever do in a matter of minutes. So it will tell me what my efficiencies are for the year at a percentage ratio, what my benchmark needs to be, where the requirements need to be for moving forward to hit X profit margin, what this team member's output is, what they need to be. It will do everything and more that, you would usually have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in consultation for with someone. This is beyond the scope of an accountant, by the way. I should add. So don't have expectations that, hey, my accountant's not doing that. It is a bit beyond this, that. So this is one of the really amazing things that we're able to do to get much clearer insight into what we need to do as a business, and also, I suppose, not involving extra additional expense to the business in doing so.
That's amazing. I mentioned about getting much quicker at proposals, not as quick as you yet. 10 minutes. That was thanks to AI, right? Yeah. And it's the AI recording of a discovery meeting, and then the ability to take that transcription, put it into AI to distill the core information based on the template that I've told it needs to look for, and pump out the information required for me to copy and paste into the proposal.
Yeah. I get excited about that.
It is amazing.
It's so great because I feel like early days, you might have been the same, but you're always kind of looking for some cheat code.
Yeah.
And it always related back to time. Like you might think it's about financial gain or whatever it be, but it's always time related, or the crux of it is time.
Yeah.
And so it's finally at this, Wild West front of business where we have that ability to do it. And it is a cheat code.
Yeah. It literally is a cheat code. Yeah, now it is. Like you mentioned, it's actually got to the point now where it can replace people. That is very true. Like I've been able to do things even on a creative side. Like I've been working on a film project, massive film project, could be massive.
I want to hear about that as well.
But I've written the treatment. I wrote the treatment over years, right? And in my spare time and stuff. And so I've got a couple of films there. Now I'm using AI as my screenwriter, my assistant producer that is pumping out all of these assets and documentation on character profiles of character arcs, of like prop lists of actual scene breakdown of beats in scenes and things. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Have you actually asked it to analyze it yet and ask for optimization?
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? We do the same thing with our floor plans and things. Like we're putting it in there and asking it for optimization.
Yeah.
So it's just using every resource available to it in the data sets that exist currently and doing it. Now, fairness, that's not there yet with that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But these are the things that we're looking to be able to do in the near future. One of them that you just mentioned, it's funny, we have a similar workflow. So we used to do standalone inspections on existing homes and provide advice or expertise on how to make the home more comfortable and livable and energy efficient.
Yep.
And that would take sometimes a day to 2 days just to write up the report, go through it all. Now I'm able to just do exactly that, right? I'm filming a walkthrough video as I'm doing the testing, talking about everything. I'm just jumping into AI, transcribing it, and it's generating the report for me in an hour.
Yeah. How crazy is that? Like, and now when I was just on a client kickoff meeting the other day. I'm leading that meeting and I'm strategizing and we're talking through gaining all the information. I'm recording the meeting. I record every meeting now. Yeah. And then the client says, do you want these brochures? I say, do you have a digital copy of it? She said, yeah, of course we do. And so sending the digital copy, and she's saying, we had these interviews with this person and this person. I said, give them to me. Like in the past, I would have thought, that'd probably be like an hour and a half interview and like times 5. I probably don't have the time to listen to those and extract the information. Now I don't need to.
Yeah.
I literally, give me all of the data you have because all of it will make for a much more strategic, much cleverer kind of process. And I'm not going to miss things. I'm going to get the nuance of all of the special bits and pieces of this business because I've got all of this data that I'm going to plug into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever I'm going to use to write. And it's going to tell me what I need to extract from that, and it's going to be able to formulate it.
Yeah. Record your notes, folks. That's pretty much it.
Just record the notes.
You are. I'm right there with you on this.
Yeah.
Like it's just opened up as you were speaking. It opened up so many more examples of where we've done this. So we have a new town planning code that's come into effect. I was able to just drop that town planning code in there, assess my set of drawings, and it came back, and I would say 80%. We're talking about 25 line items of different assessment that had to be required, and it was able to achieve that. And I was like, next level.
Whoa.
I mean, and the other big one, the humanized tone.
Yeah.
It never was there prior, and it is there now.
It is.
I'm struggling to identify the difference between something that I've written and something that's now being generated.
Yeah, which is amazing because we're in still early stages of this, right? And it becoming more realistic, more human-like. I've trained one of the bots to be to write like me, and so, but even not in the not too distant future, you won't even need to do that. Like you won't need to train something. You'll use it enough, and it'll just learn you.
Yeah.
And like, there's other things that we could diverge into.
I know. I think I'm taking this conversation too far to the side. Let's bring it back in.
Yeah, let's bring it back to Outlier and where we're going here. But so you've learned a whole bunch and you've integrated a whole bunch from EOS, which is really cool in the meeting kind of side of things. We've talked a little bit about EOS from a few different businesses on the podcast, and it's one of those things I've got a pin in to like integrate in my own business. But so efficiencies gained, that's all of the things we've talked about are how you've been able to grow and get more output from less people, right?
Yes.
It sounds like that's been pretty critical to achieving like the level of output, level of work you've been able to do, and to keep profit high and sustainable and all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on the EOS note as well, like the best part for that for me is the dashboard.
Oh, yeah,
so I will mention that. So the dashboard it gives you these snapshots, which we do the weekly team meetings. So I'm able to just go, right, how are we traveling, and assess that. So you'll set those benchmarks yourself, and that'll come from all the things that we talked about previously of use AI to help you.
Yes.
Identify what your business goals are and just putting it in there. And for anyone who's not familiar, I think it's ZenPilot. For anyone using ClickUp, you can integrate that into your ClickUp.
Yes.
And, it's all there. Follow the instructions. You're good to go.
That's amazing.
Big help.
Huge.
So then back to what you were just saying.
Yeah.
I'll have to refresh my memory, sorry. What was the last part of that?
Yeah, so the efficiencies gained have been allowed you to be able to keep the team small, but the output large. And how critical is that to the sustainability of growing your business?
Yeah, I think one of the things I also learned in business is that it's not necessarily how big's that net number, but also what are those expense line items looking like? Yes. So a lot of businesses, and you've probably experienced this as well, can increase their profit, not by trying to do further volume, increase that net number, but by actually looking and assessing at the expense line items and, is that necessary or is that a nice to have? Yep. And you should do this probably quarterly. You probably go through your expense line items, and that's just getting it set up in your accounting software correctly for your P&L, and then, just audit it, go through. Right, cool. It may be $1,000 or it might be $10,000. Yeah. Good on you if it is, because you've just increased your bottom line a bit.
That's huge. Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for that. That was something I've learned as well.
Love that. Love it. So let's move on a little bit. We didn't talk a whole lot last episode in terms of the greater industry. We talked a bit about niching and the atmosphere or the culture of your particular niche, but what about some of the challenges of the sustainability industry and how you're navigating those?
Yeah, this is a pretty big topic.
Yeah,
and there's two parts to it. So there's probably the sustainability industry, but then there's also just the construction industry as a whole.
Okay,
so sustainability it's very consumer driven in the Australian market, which is great because there are a lot of very dedicated people in this space. It's their life's work, it's their passion, and not just that, but the individual homeowners as well are like, this is what I want, and they will fight tooth and nail to get that outcome. Now that could be, I'll give a real world example, but we had a client many years ago who wanted to build a straw bale home. Oh, yeah. Now you would think that you can just go and get a building permit and build that straw bale home, but no, it doesn't meet any of our National Construction Code requirements.
Really?
Deemed to satisfy or off the shelf.
Oh,
so there's a lot of these alternative documentation requirements to get it across the line. Now, that in itself, we were just talking about town planning, 2 years for yourself, now going through that again. So a lot of people get fatigue through this process and don't go through with it.
Yeah.
So we can see here there's a bit of a disconnect because we want to encourage these things, sustainability, within our industry, but we make it so hard for people to achieve those outcomes through, I guess, just a regulatory compliance perspective at least. So those, for this particular project, we had to find a professor from Adelaide University who done some testing in a lab and provided this document. Now, the document looked like one of those typical, it had been photocopied 25 times, but the level that you've got to go to be able to do this. Now, if you don't have the knowledge or you're not in industry, what hope do you have to even know where to look for these things or find them? Because they're not publicly available. Whoa. This was all via email. There were no websites or finding out information.
No way.
So that fast forward now, we're hearing a lot more around like hempcrete and other natural building materials, and the same problems lie, right? This isn't an off-the-shelf, deemed to satisfy product. Quite often it requires alternative methods to get compliance.
Wow.
And if you've had to go through that entire process, could be a 3 to 4 year journey for you.
Oh my
Now, who wants to commit to that? It takes a very dedicated and passionate person.
Yeah.
So now we can sort of transition that conversation into the general construction industry as a whole.
Yeah, tell me.
there's probably three main components to this. I'll start with the villain, the bank.
Yeah.
The actual, I suppose, builders, and then there's the regulatory aspect. So all three, to move this forward, and let's just bring it back to, say, federal governments and state governments' desires to build more homes. We're not hitting those targets, and I suspect this is part of the reason why. But all three have different requirements, and all three are wanting or are providing three different things. So, for example, a builder, to be sustainable and to be cash flow positive today, needs to be able to have significant amount of money up front. And particularly when it comes to alternative building products. So a lot of these things need to be purchased very early on in the project to get manufactured, around prefabrication and modular homes especially, which is, again, another really big incentivized area with federal and state government. They want to see this as a possible solution for our housing crisis, but we can't get the funds. And so now it's dangerous. It's really high risk for builders to enter into these contracts because the bank's only going to give them a very small percentage of what's really required up front. Now, if there's a delay during that build, they're holding that. Now, that's not sustainable as a business. I know I would ever want to find myself in that position.
No way.
And there's a few more zeros on those values to what I'm used to seeing in my own business as well. So you can see why builders are struggling. And given how turbulent the industry has been over the last few years, a lot of them are coming out of this with fatigue, and they want to pull the pin. What is there to incentivize them now to keep going?
They're not getting the reward or the outcome that they're for the work that they're putting in. Like we said it last episode, and we say it every episode. Business is hard. Like you have to work really hard, and the thing that creates burnout and really squeezes you and makes you not want to do it anymore is not succeeding. When you're working so hard and you're not seeing any benefit, it's like, why am I doing this?
Exactly right. So we've got this, regulatory compliance aspect where they're like, build now. The sustainability aspect, also the banking aspect of this, is like, you can build, but here's less than what's required. And then we've got the compliance aspect that's also maybe hamstringing a lot of these alternative or sustainable building methods from being a viable solution as well. So it's a very complex
What I see
scenario.
there in those three things is a misalignment of the risk and motivation, right? And so each party has risk, but it's not the same risk. And they're trying to mitigate it, and because they're not aligned, there's no way to work together to avoid the risk because they've got different risks. The bank doesn't want to release too much money in case it falls over and they can't recoup it. And then the business, the builder, needs to make sure that they are financially viable as a business, so they need more. And they could get it done, right? They could get it done if they had the resources at the right time. And then the regulatory bodies and government are saying, we can't handle not having enough homes. And so they're all completely different, and they can't work together at the moment. Do you see a potential solution to this, Anthony?
I think the federal government's got to intervene, and let's get a body together,
let's get everyone on the
representing
same page.
each. Let's get everyone on the same page. Let's find a way forward here because. I mean, sorry, I'm going to sidestep as well and just bring in existing housing stock into the mix. Like that's a lot of existing homes that can be retrofitted and brought up to speed. But good luck getting the funding via the banks to do that because that's an even higher risk scenario. So we've got this big drive. There's a lot of people who are very vocal in our industry pushing for this. Like, look at all this existing housing stock that we could be utilizing. But to actually do that, there's so many roadblocks. It's a challenge to and again, what's incentivizing someone to go through with that?
Not much.
There's also two different aspects of the construction industry. There's that volume type model, and then there's the independent builder model. And that volume model is a totally different business. Totally different. It's the McDonald's versus XYZ burger down the road. And unfortunately, like the burger place on the corner, They might have a way better product. It may be amazing,
Yeah.
but McDonald's is always going to make more money, right?
Yeah,
So
way
that's the
more.
scenario.
Yeah, that's
so there's
right.
a lot more leverage on that volume because it makes sense, right? They're the ones that are producing the higher output.
Yep.
They're solving the solution for what is required.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I'm pretty certain like the statistics still show the independent builder makes up the majority of the market as a whole.
Really? Yeah, that's amazing. There are a lot of independent builders. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so there's some really serious finance challenges that are preventing some growth in the building industry and the sustainability industry. We spoke briefly on the prefab panels that you're importing and how they could influence and help. What's the development in that business, and where do you see that coming in to kind of help in these kind of challenges of builders not having the right materials or having much higher costs, or the actual sustainability material itself being really expensive or hard to procure or not having enough compliance. So how do you see the panels that you're bringing in filling a bit of a gap, and do they?
They do, yeah. And I mean, it's probably just to expand off of what we were just talking about, though, with the builders and that fatigue and what incentivizes them. Well, we also have a material and trade shortage.
Yeah.
So they're struggling to get the skilled labor that's required to be able to provide the output, and that's constant. Like I don't know if I've ever seen more construction companies or builders advertising for help at the moment.
Wow.
It's just not there. So the panels as a whole are providing for I suppose a quality assurance. I think we touched on this previously, but that this product, like regardless of maybe requiring specialized skilled labor to build these better homes, these panels basically remove that. So they're a solution. Like they go together like a Meccano set, right? Like it's reducing that risk for error.
Yeah.
But they're also quick. So we just had our the demonstration day where we had a 60 square meter building constructed, and it was turnkey within 2.5 weeks.
Oh, man.
The panels themselves for the walls were up in 3 hours. So the home is basically able to be erected and locked up, like that size home, erected and locked up securely within a day. So, and they're providing a better environment for people to live. So they're more obviously energy efficient because they're highly insulated. They've got this nice airtight envelope. They've got continuous mechanical ventilation. So they're providing these healthy indoor environments for people. So they're a great solution for that. The only issue that I've found at the moment is that there is that higher upfront cost to get that comparatively to the traditional frame methodology that we have in the country, what people are used to. And there's also, as I just mentioned, like that requirement now to let's ask the banks, hey, can you provide a little bit more money up front in the contract to purchase these, to get them into manufacturing and go through that. Now, it is a higher value item than, say, just getting a timber frame prefab manufactured, because this thing's solving for more than just a frame. But that's the closest thing that people who aren't familiar with can identify it as.
Okay.
So we've got something that's not just your frame, but your insulation, your air barrier, your structural bracing, it's everything. So,
whoa. So there's a fair bit of education that has to happen here, but that's pretty amazing that the solution that you've got there competes with maybe a modular home that's prefabricated off site and then brought to site, and like that's what mum and dad are doing. But these are much easier to transport, and you can transport them in lots to site. I'm just like connecting some dots here.
So we actually do both. So we have panel house where it's basically it comes as a kit.
Yes.
And it's individual panels, and you can just erect them yourself on site.
Yep.
They're pretty straightforward. They're pretty popular with owner builders, as you can imagine.
I can imagine.
And that's great. And but we also have the modular business as well, Flexi House, which essentially is exactly that, a transportable home. So we're using those panels to build them, and then we can transport them to site, and you can turn the key and live in them. So,
that's pretty amazing. Now, I'm seeing a lot of, just a sidetrack a little bit into modular building, like we're seeing an explosion in modular home builders. And it might be for the points that we've mentioned, right, is of all of the challenges of finance and building, and that it's becoming much easier to just make a house somewhere else and move it here and you're done.
Yeah.
Right? and that as a business model is really gaining traction. How is it? Are you perceiving it from the inside? Is it like as a player in that industry, Flexi House? What's your perspective on that? Are you seeing like an explosion in that industry?
Absolutely. And most of what I'm seeing is builders pivoting.
Yeah.
So they're realizing that there's complications comes with constructing on site, material shortages, labor shortages. Now they've got a controlled environment and they're working it out themselves. They're going, well, hang on, I can have my team here on just at one location, undisturbed, building these, and then we can just basically take them to site. Installed. And so all of a sudden they're not traveling. All the materials are probably just in storage on site, and they can continue to just have materials delivered safely and stored on site. Wastage is reduced. Like they're working it out for the exact same reasons that I am.
Yeah, that's right.
Their biggest hurdle with that, though, is the lending, is the finances, because modular and transportable homes are viewed differently.
Wow.
From a lending perspective. So there's a lot more money required up front.
Wow.
So that's another one of those roadblocks that, is reverting back to our previous conversation, that we'd like to see some solution provided.
Yeah.
Because what you're probably reading and what others who are seeing the word modular or transportable buildings is coming from these federal government incentives. They're offering millions and millions of dollars to develop this industry.
Yes.
But then the consumers going, great, I want that. And then they're going, can I have some money, please, to do that? And they're going, well, you need to have 50% up front. And it's like, well, no, I don't have that. So we just need to see some streamlining occurrence there. And I think the gates will be opened a little bit more.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can see as we're talking and remembering all of we've got one client, right? Potential client I've just produced a proposal for, who is exactly that situation, a traditional independent builder who's pivoted to modular home building.
Perfect.
And is seeing some great success, but wants to go to the next level. I'm putting the pieces together here of like, I think this is going to be much more common than it is now, and that's pretty exciting for me, and it must be exciting for you, being already in the industry and building that type of business, that you're on the ground floor pretty much. Like we haven't even we're not even close to like mass adoption, right? Like not even close. Like we're all the way at the start of the bell curve, right, of early adoption. Even if we've hit there yet, right? But even now there are so many players in that space, it seems. So you imagine when we do hit, from a consumer perspective, a lot more homes being built in a modular format or prefab. That's going to be huge, mate.
It will be. Yeah, I mean, there is evidence, like there is a proof of concept here. So post World War II, can you imagine how many countries had to rebuild homes in a very quick and efficient manner?
Yeah.
So that, like Japan and Europe, and they all mass adopted off-site construction and prefabrication.
Did they really?
Yeah. So this is where a lot of that has stemmed from, and it's developed over decades.
Wow.
We haven't had to have a reason to do it in mass adoption as yet, but it's happening.
Wow.
Now I don't know to what level,
but
it's very likely that it'll see. Once we see some streamlined process here with lending particularly, I think, yes, we'll start to see it rolled out more. It's such a great solution. Imagine, there are very few downsides other than the financial aspect that I can see for it to be a viable solution to providing more housing for people and the right type of housing as well.
Yeah, it's honestly amazing. All right, so let's go back to Outlier for a moment. I want to know, we didn't speak too much about how you've grown the business and the mechanics of that. Like, how have you expanded the brand in terms of the awareness in the market? You found your niche, but how did you find your people? How did you find your customers?
Yeah, so I was like anyone, just typically starting out. I was just taking on whatever came to me and any various things. And I think we made the decision then to rebrand to Outlier. It was full commitment.
Yes.
And at that time, I got very fortunate because I had someone come into my life. A friend relocated back from Europe with his partner, and she was a marketing guru. Like, hands down, I did have my hand held and got taught everything.
Wow.
And it was just education. We straight away, we launched the podcast. We were getting email newsletters out. We were diving into socials, and I started to learn about this thing called SEO. So it was, exactly, like blog post and everything, and just link juice and backlinking to everyone. And it was just this whole new world.
Wow.
Which I had no experience in, and I was just like thrilled. I was so excited by it because I could then all of a sudden see, hey, we did this, and that converted to a sale. And like, it was the biggest morale booster. And I became, like you just described yourself earlier, like very excited by sales.
Yes, very excited.
So that was great. Like,
wow.
So Sandra, thank you. We ran the podcast together as co-hosts for many years.
Wow.
And it was a great time. So what we were doing though, to our approach, was we were just giving everything away for free. We just kept giving knowledge and education, and we were probably at the forefront of this niche in the regions.
Yeah.
So we were probably the first that someone had seen with blower door testing and thermal imaging cameras and all these other great things that we were doing.
Yeah.
And we were able to then just give that away. Like, hey, this is how you should be fixing your home to do this. Here's all the answers.
Wow.
And we were finding that was great. People loved it. They were reaching out. There was huge amounts of engagement. One of the most successful things I will mention that we did do, which is a lot of fun, was we started a YouTube channel, and we were just doing 3 to 5 part series across a build.
Yeah.
And we just get on site and we talk about it and we'd showcase everything, and people were just loving it.
Wow.
They just sit down over a night and watch us on, talking about slab insulation or movement in soil and the footing designs, and right through to the types of construction of the walls and the roofs. And you would think, who would be into that? But there's others out there like myself.
Yes, plenty of people. And it turns out that's your customer base, right?
Exactly right. The amount of times that I've been told when we sit down for that initial sort of inquiry meeting with the clients, like, it feels really weird to be sitting in front of you because I've just heard your voice for so many days or hours or whatever, or it's so weird to be talking to you because I just had you in my ears.
Yes. Yeah, that's like the power of content, right? Was there any barrier that you experienced to adopting podcasting specifically? Like being on a podcast right now, let's talk about the value of podcasting. What was your experience getting into it as a business owner?
So at this stage, I was consumed with podcasts myself. I was absorbing all this information. It's the easiest way to do it. You might go for a walk or a run in the morning, and it's like, we're listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
And so I saw the value in them. Like, I had already found the value in podcasting, and it was that little nudge that I needed from Sandra. So she'd come from that expertise. She was doing podcasts for other businesses and things in the past and had found it successful. So she's like, we're doing it. I'm like, right, sounds good. And so, that barrier to me was I kind of had the push from someone. But now I can speak on the flip side about how valuable podcasts are. Yeah. It is a form of media and marketing that you just can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's such a massive growth of trust in a brand and yourself as an individual. I guess an individual is a brand these days. Like, consider
definitely.
that, right?
Yep.
So it's, what that does is just unbelievable how much it elevates that trust level. And of course, that's a crucial aspect of converting.
Yeah, big time. So how did you actually leverage it to start with? Like, did you just jump on the mic and say, hey, this is my podcast, let's going to do this, and then upload it to Apple Podcasts, and that was it? Like, how did you actually, what's the behind the scenes of leveraging a podcast?
Yeah, so it was a little bit more structured than that, because once as I mentioned, we had an expert doing this. So it was like, these are the things that are going to produce the best possible outcome for us. So again, you can use AI for this. You can dive in and do a little bit of research very quickly and find out what all the things are you should be identifying, the agendas, discussion points, etc. But in simple terms, it was just like as easy as that. You can get a standalone mic, USB mic that's good quality from JB Hi-Fi, plug it in, sign up to a podcast software provider or online cloud-based provider, and away you go. And you can be doing all that for under $500.
Yeah.
Like, what else can you spend $500 or less on as a marketing avenue for your business?
Yeah, that's right.
That provides the highest value.
Yeah, next level, right? And you talked about SEO. Did you create a blog post with the podcast? Did you pump it out via socials? How did you promote it?
Yeah, so pretty much all of the above. So yes, it was transcribed. It was converted into basically a blog post. That then was broken up and edited to reels and social posts.
Yep.
What's good about that is that your guest gets to then promote and you can collaborate with them as well, and that outreach becomes quite significant.
Yep.
I've also found that the podcast being posted as a blog, if there's something in there that's of interest to, say, another business, they'll link to you, and obviously that gives you what I was referred to as link juice.
Yes.
So it increases your visibility as for, say, Google searches and things.
From a high level, let's just explain what the value of backlinks and things are, just for someone who might not have any idea what you're talking about.
Sure.
How do you get the juice from the link?
Yeah, good analogy. So my understanding is that when Google was founded, that was the algorithm. It was like, who has got the most links to their website gets priority number one.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, that still stands today to some regard.
Yeah.
So
it still has a lot of power.
You're looking to basically have as many links going to your website as possible, and that will give you visibility. That's basically the juice.
Yeah, that's it. That's the good sauce right there. Make sure you have as much. And so when you're saying you're creating blogs from the podcast, you're giving content that's as an opportunity. It positions you as an authority, and if someone else is wanting to draw on that value or leech off you, for want of a better word, that's good for you, right? If you're linked as the authority on this particular subject, or there's content in there that they're using in a post that they're making somewhere, and there's a link back to your website, then that link itself is worth a lot to you.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. And let's not forget the knowledge gained from talking to people. Yeah. How rare is it to sit down and have an hour conversation with someone completely in the zone, uninterrupted? I know.
This is actually the secret sauce of podcasting, is the ability to build a relationship, right? We're here having a targeted conversation about things that we're both passionate about, and you're right. Unless, I might have a catch up for a coffee with someone, but I don't have an hour to just hang out. I just don't have it, or I don't want to have it, really, And so in this scenario, we both get value from the activity itself, or the output of the activity, but we have fun in the activity, right? So it's a win all around. Honestly, the value of podcasting for me is this, and it's the ability to have content, like we were saying before, the value-based content that I can share out through my network and your network, because you're here. And I'll be able to tag you in the content, right? So I get access to your network as well as providing valuable content for mine. And so that's how you one way that you were able to find your market and draw customers.
It is, yeah. So a good marketing strategy will have a few line items, and there's obviously a priority. And I do honestly believe that the podcast or the video were the highest value items for us.
Yeah, good.
Though, we of course, socials cannot be forgotten. They're pretty important. A good website, obviously, if you are focusing on SEO development, then you've got to have that, and you've got to be able to continually sort of grow that. It's crazy when you look behind the scenes at that stuff and who's linking to you. There's this one university in New Zealand that has got us linked for various parts of various articles that we can't. It's credential locked, so we can't see it, but stuff everywhere that you just don't know what's going on.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think collectively though, it's important to put it all together. Obviously, depending on what you want to put most energy into. Who's one of the forgotten heroes here? Email marketing.
Yes, that's
an email newsletter.
Yes.
So a good 2 to 3 sort of articles going out monthly.
What would you say, Anthony, to someone who says, look, email newsletters, man, I hate getting emails. I hate getting spammed. Email's dead, man. Nobody opens emails. What would you say to that?
I've got your attention already. So I'm in your inbox.
Yeah.
You can't, I suppose, if you listen, you've got to actively go to hit play to listen to the podcast. You've got to actively go to YouTube to watch one of our videos. You've got to do these things. There's these steps that must occur. I haven't had to do anything, and I'm in front of you.
Yeah, that's so true.
And if there's something that I've caught your attention with, great. You're probably going to go, I'll just have a quick look.
Yep.
But you're there in front of mine now. Now, that might not happen until the 7th email you receive from me because you've forgotten to unsubscribe. Thank you. And, that's caught your attention and that's it.
Yeah.
It's highly valuable in that regard.
Yeah, it is super powerful. Email is not by any means dead at all.
I've been told it's still the highest converter.
Yeah.
Like statistically speaking, it still trumps everything.
Doesn't surprise me because there's no action required from the potential customer to engage with that content, that you're sending it directly to them. The only action they have to take is to click on it, right? What is the open rates? Do you have a rough understanding of your open rates on newsletters?
I do, but I could not tell you off the top of my head. Yeah, that's something I'd have to look at the back end quickly and go,
yes.
That's right. Yeah. But I mean, podcast is crazy. Like we're over 10,000.
No way.
Downloads now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Gee, that's great.
And it grows. So I suppose this is one of the things we haven't mentioned, right? Is that this isn't like social media where it's gone. It's a very quick churn.
Yeah, it is.
You've got post and it's pretty much done within the day.
Yep. It's invisible after a day. Yep.
And whereas with the podcast or even YouTube videos that I've noted is that some of those early recordings, like they just continue on that trajectory. They don't stop.
Yeah.
And will forever continue.
Yeah, keep getting views, keep getting attention.
As someone finds you and discovers you, they will then go, oh, they've got a podcast. I'll go listen to that. And then they get 2-3 episodes in, and then before you know it, they've listened to the whole back catalogue. It's, and then that's undeniable.
Yes. You have built such a relationship with them, and you, in many cases, will never have met them yet. But they have a strong relationship with you. What else can you do that has that outcome?
There isn't anything I'm aware of, to be honest. Yeah.
No. Well, you don't even have to meet someone for them to trust you implicitly.
Yeah. And look, one of the other things that I probably haven't mentioned that I am quite a big fan of, it does require your time, but we do open houses. So as one of our builds is under construction, because there's certain unique elements to our designs and builds, we will go, hey, let's open it up to the public. Nice. We do a registration process. So then all of a sudden we have an email address, which means we link into obviously they become a subscriber to our newsletter.
Love it.
But then I go give an hour or two of my time for that day, and we provide, again, that proof of concept. They then can find us. If they're not familiar with us already, like they may have just seen it and gone, oh, that's in my local area, I'll go check that out. Then again, they get the avenues of podcast, the videos, everything else to then dive into.
Love that.
There's been occasions, I think the record's like 2.5 years from initial point of contact from one of those days to them being a client with us.
2.5 years.
Followed along that journey.
Yeah. Yep. I'm playing a bit in the business coaching space, and there's been multiple conversions there that have been, my business coach has been operating for 15 plus years kind of thing, and had a podcast for about that long. And he has had a couple of recent ones that have been 10 years.
Wow.
10
Tell me how powerful that is.
Yeah. That's crazy. 10 years of someone signing up to an email, buying a little thing, that he's put out there as a lead magnet, and then 10 years later becoming a client. Whoa.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about this and everyone can take it with a grain of salt, but there is proof here too.
Yeah, there is.
It's evidence to say, hey, look, this is how significant this is.
Yeah.
And also, if you are in business, you're in it for the long game.
Yeah,
that's
right.
This is not something where, yes, there are rare examples of this where you get in and 2 years later you've just sold out and you're a multimillionaire. But for most of us, it's like you're generally going to give this a minimum 5 years before you've even considered that you've tried it.
Yes, that's right.
Given it a go. And
that's
then,
right.
By year 10, you're probably starting to get into the swing of things and, found your feet, and it's all, you're optimized already by then usually. So it's a long game. So
it is a long game. Yeah, you're right. And I looked at one of my boys the other day, and he's wearing a Bunnings shirt that says, when I grow up, I want to be a tradie. And the tradie is spelt in tools on the front. And I think genius marketing strategy. Genius. From Bunnings, they're developing their industry, right? They're developing their future customer base by giving away T-shirts.
Yeah, and CBA Bank are famous for this, right?
Oh, they are. That's
Dolomites?
right. The
What was it?
Dolomites. Yes.
Primary school? Yeah.
Yes, we've discussed this on the podcast before. Like the other example is John Deere with toys. Toy tractors.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Gosh, they did pretty well with their data collection recently too. That's a whole different topic,
right.
but they were. You've heard of this? Okay, so this is that right to repair movement that's occurring with farmers in rural areas, I think, of North America. Basically, John Deere were collecting all of the data from the machines, and then they were able to sell it to traders to understand where the most yield was coming from in certain areas and grain belts.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's huge.
Yep. And so you were meant to take the machines back to John Deere to get repaired because they were so technologically advanced and had all this data collection in them. But farmers were like, no, I just want to repair my tractor myself. So it kind of came out in the wild or in the public realm that, hang on, this is why?
Why do we need to bring it back? That's crazy. The people underestimate the power of data in nearly all spheres. The power of information. Like there's so many companies now. Adobe is a classic one. Like you think they're selling software as a service. That's like a minority component of their business, and it's the thing people know them for. But they're leveraging the data that everyone is inputting into their software for way larger gains than they have on their subscription fees, right?
Yeah. This is actually a really enjoyable topic of conversation for me because it just amazes me because we are so complacent sometimes to think about what the real value is to this business. And Costco's another one, right? They make no money off the sales of goods.
Yeah.
They make their $4 billion off of their membership subscriptions.
Isn't that crazy?
Unreal, right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And data's another thing we haven't even spoken about
yet,
as far as like application of our own businesses go.
Yeah.
But that's something we actually did to get a foothold and provide that, I suppose, image of a thought leader in our industry because we're creating this new methodology around like how can we achieve this really great result but with more conventional practices and labor. And we went, what if there are some errors in this? Like how can we keep And so we introduced data and sensor collection throughout the entire home.
Yeah.
And we were able to then run that for 12 months and then pull that data and go, right, cool. We are absolutely doing everything we said we were going to do. There are no issues. So we're able to provide that evidence through that data collection to say, look, this is the proof of concept. It works great. And now we can, provide this exact same thing to you.
Wow. Yeah.
And again, to do with marketing, we branded that and called it something.
Of course.
Hybrid Home.
Yeah.
In development with a local builder, EcoWise Homes.
Yeah.
David, again, just a collaboration.
Yeah.
You can't do these things unless you collaborate.
Yes.
That was another massive thing. So if depending on the businesses that are listening or people listening, if you've got opportunities to collect data in what you do and provide that's another really valuable thing.
Incredibly valuable, because that's almost like it takes a lot more work, but it's a guarantee, right? It's a guarantee that it has to be backed up by something to be able to guarantee it, right? And so without that data, you can't guarantee, and the message isn't as strong. That's amazing. So you collected all this data over 12 months and you trademarked, you registered. Tell me what unpack that journey for me.
Yeah, sure. Starting there, I did actually submit a trademark application.
You did?
But in all fairness, they were like, these are not words that you can technically keep for yourself. There is another method we can go back and do it again, and I might, but ultimately that is us giving back to. So that's us, just, what do we want it for ourselves for at this particular moment? We're doing it already. Let's give it out to everyone. And so, you can basically replicate what we've done. It's all there online.
Wow.
In all of the videos that I talked about.
Yes.
And so you can go and check it out. And I've had multiple people ask me now, hey, have you got that exclusive to you or not? And that's one of those items where we made the call not to. And we said, no, we want that to be a solution for industry. Like everyone can use it, and this is how. And we built an entire online course doing this as well. So Sandra and I worked together for 18 months to 2 years, just developing this online course, filming and creating details. And what it's basically about is being able to take the course. It's a small entry fee basically for what it is, and it fills the gap between you and your designer, or draft person, architect, and the builder. So we can go, right, this is the secret sauce on how to get your hybrid home, no matter what, when you've with your team.
Wow. So no matter who you're dealing with, this course that you've developed plugs in to the customer or the person building, the owner, and enables them to achieve a hybrid home no matter who they're dealing with.
Exactly right. Yeah. Interestingly enough, though, the highest student the area they're coming from is actually builders.
Oh, wow.
They're wanting to upskill. They're wanting to learn more. They're just thirsty for this at the moment.
Yeah.
So it says a lot. I'm really really excited by what the industry is going to grow into, because the next generations of builders coming through are not like the previous. They are so evolved from that. Yeah. And I think it's important for the consumer market and people to know that as well, that it's a different thing now. It's not what it was. And we see that in the modular housing, and it's going to be the next 20 to 30 years, this landscape is going to look completely different. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, it 100% is. Mate, let's round this episode out. Part 2. I love that we did a part 2, and we haven't even touched on everything that we could, but this has been so much fun. I want to land this with some wins.
Sure.
What have been some things you've experienced in business? Like, this is your permission to say, this was great. We did this and it worked. And like, this is proof that to me, what's valuable to you that you can say, this was great.
Oh, it's hard. I really don't like hearing praise. It's something I get quite embarrassed or just, like shy about. But I mean, the obvious thing here is talking about that home that with the data collection, everything in there, we actually entered that into a National Design Award, and it won.
What?
So again, the judges identified that this was quite unique, and this was something that could solve for a lot of problems within industry and provide a better product and, better homes for people to live in. And that's amazing. that was a big win for us. Having a national award is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
And then there's just like the macro ones too, like seeing your team develop and grow into the most amazing people, because your leadership and what you're teaching as well, like not just the actual job, but everything that comes with that, and your self-development and growth, and they're evolving as well. So that's really rewarding to see that. And there's just general feedback from clients and customers is really a win as well. Like when you sit with someone at the end of a project, it can be quite an emotional time as it is given, right? You've just got this brand new home that you never probably thought you were ever going to have in your life, and you've just, it's happened. But there can be a lot of like gratitude and tears at that point, and that's such a big win as well. That feeling that you've actually changed someone's life or improved their life in any way, that's pretty incredible.
It's huge.
So I take that as a win for sure.
Yeah.
But even just as a individual, like we talked about this previous chat, but that development that comes, if you lean into it, as you said, like, and you really embrace business and this, you become probably, the best person you can be. It teaches you so many things that you never thought would be even possible. So that's probably a big win as well. But my self-development journey through this process to get where I am is another big win. Like, I just would not, like, looking back, I would not give that up for anything. Yeah.
I love that, mate. I can see in some of the things that you really value are very similar to what I really value, in that we're here to make a difference in people's lives, and that's our own and our families. It's our team and the people that we're leading, but it's the customers that we serve. If we're not actually making a positive difference in all of those areas, then what are we doing, right? Like, what if our service and what we're selling people isn't improving their lives, then we may as well sell forks on Amazon, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. It's and I think that's important too. Like, to just, if you haven't already, maybe reestablish even some loose values around what is driving you, and I think that's an important thing too, because that'll change. Like, that's the thing, right? We're talking about so many things, right, in this conversation, and it can be quite broad or macro at different times. But at the end of the day, like, it's if it's not value driven, like, how long can you sustain that for? Like how long? Like really? Like
Yeah.
where does it? At what point do you get to where you're sort of at a pain point anyway, where you probably just need change?
Yeah.
I know that happened to me. I'll be honest. Like it got to a point where I was such a pain point, and we always let ourselves get to that point, right? And then that's when I instigated change, and then from there it got better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The point where the pain of the current situation is more than that of the potential change is generally when the change happens.
Exactly right.
Unfortunately, but naturally. So, all right, that's so good. I love those wins. Tell me, the last thing I'm gonna ask you is lessons learned. Wisdom that you can bestow on us. What are some things that you've gained wisdom-wise, you've learnt from lessons over your time that you think this is critical to how I run business and how I've been able to succeed to the point I am so far?
Yeah, I think I've reflected on this, and the biggest, the number one point is knowing your numbers. Like, and I'd heard that at uni, and I'd heard that from so many people and so many of the entrepreneurial greats, and I thought, yeah, I know my numbers. And I didn't. I did not know my numbers, or probably more importantly, I didn't have the right processes in place to make it easy for me to know my numbers. So just as important as knowing your numbers is like it needs to be quick and accessible at all times.
Yeah.
So little things like being able to have apps now is great. You can just go bang, just get snapshots, setting weekly or monthly or quarterly catch-ups to identify these things and look at it. Because not only is it important, when I say know your numbers, I'm not talking about just looking at a profit and loss statement and looking at your historical data.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But also knowing what are your conversion rates? Why are they low? Are they hitting targets? And this is where the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, comes into play. I have it integrated into ClickUp, and I can just quickly do benchmark checks in my weekly or monthly catch-ups and go, right, are we on target for that? Is that on target? I can just look at my dashboards and know exactly what's going on and where to improve things. And to share some truth right now, inquiry had dipped.
Yeah.
It's due to an industry slow up, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a victim to that.
Yeah.
So we know where our main targets are. So we increase marketing here, we do open days here, we do these things.
Right.
And because we're able to track all that data, we can see exactly what's occurring and where to emphasize and pivot and put our time and attention and money to those things. So that's part of knowing your numbers as well. Is knowing, all right, cool, conversion rates are low. Why? This is happening. Cool, we'll just implement this over here and do that. And then waiting, to see how successful that was. Was that worth doing again next time? And if you don't know those conversion rates, you're just kind of making assumptions the whole time. Yep. And that's what I did. I was just like, I'm doing good. I'm making assumptions. But no, I didn't. Knowing your numbers. And you should be able to call them off the top of your head, which is a bit embarrassing for me earlier when you said, hey, what was your open rate on the emails? That's one I didn't know. But it's, like if you don't, at least being able to tell me within 30 seconds.
Yeah. That is so good. I love what you're saying because I've heard it described many times like the cockpit of an airplane, right? You've got all of these dials around you and they all have a particular purpose. It tells you your elevation, your whatever the thing that tells you how angle, what your angle is and all of those kind of things. Your air pressure and everything. It's exactly like this in business. If you don't have those dials in front of you, if you don't have a dashboard and you don't have benchmarks, or you don't know what's happening, you're not going to be able to implement something that's going to compensate for a industry slowdown in a particular area, right? And so you're flying blind, literally.
Quite literally, yeah. And you might be real, and what I've, again, this might be relatable to some, just a quick story, but I was what I think was a great technician. I was really good at my craft, working for others, no problems at all. Now, I thought that was just meant that you would be good at business, right? Because you're good at your craft, you could just do that as a business. You realize very quickly that you don't. That's a totally different role entirely. And that's where there's always that balance or that friction for some people is like, working in the business and working on the business. And it's a constant balancing up for a lot of people. Some are able to make a decision, basically be decisive and go, right, I'm just going to work on the business. I'm going to replace myself and have someone doing that, or vice versa. I know others that are working in the business because they really love their craft and want to stick with that. And then they get someone involved to do the operations in the business.
Yeah, that's it. That is probably the most common story in small business, right? Is you become the best at what you do, and then you're like, well, I'll do it for myself now, and then I didn't become the best at what I did. I just started doing, right? I just started filmmaking, making videos, but it was my accountant that sat me down as a 24, 25-year-old and said, Caleb, if you want to grow a business, you're going to have to become a business person, not just a filmmaker. And I was like, oh, no, no, I'm a filmmaker. But what she said was true. And I'm so thankful that someone told me early on and said, you can't just be the technician to run a successful business. That's not how it works. You need technicians, but if you're going to grow a business, you need to know how to grow a business, not make a video.
Wow, you're thankful. I'd be so thankful for someone at that point sitting me down and telling me that. Like, great.
It was amazing, but I can resonate. It resonates what you're saying, right? It's the journey of nearly every small business owner. They're great at the craft, but then they don't. It's not until the business starts and they start going on their journey that they realize how much they don't know about running a business, and that's not. What's required to grow the business is not what they have brought to it so far. Yeah, yep. And that's where it goes back full circle. Lean into it. Yeah. Embrace that, because you will grow holistically if you do. Yeah, you will. Oh, that's cool. A great place to land. Anthony, thanks so much for joining me on this 2-part series. If you've been listening to us and have no idea what we're talking about, there is another episode where we sit down and lay the foundations of your early journey and deliver a whole bunch of really cool value in that one as well. So go back, check out part 1. It's a few episodes ago now, but mate, this has been so much fun. Thank you for being my first part 2 podcast guest. No, you're more than welcome, Caleb, and thanks for having me. So I just want to say thanks to all the listeners as well, and I hope they get a lot of value out of it. Well, that's it for this episode. If you really enjoyed listening, why don't you drop a comment in the comments below? Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you get updates on when all of the next ones come out. That really helps grow this little community of people that are diving into regional business and celebrating and learning more from it. So really appreciate your support, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.